Good evening, everybody. I declare the meeting open. And just note that we are visually recording, so by being here you are consenting to being on the television screen and live streaming to those who are listening at home. I'd like to call upon Councillor Barry Winmar to present the Acknowledgement of Country.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting tonight is taking place on Noongar Budja. This is Noongar country. This is my father's country. I'd also like to pay respect to elders past and present and emerging leaders and elders in the Noongar community. Ngalak nyening kurlang kura ngalak noich nija Noongar Budja. Noongar mort jerp and nyening nija. Ngalak kwabrak Noongar Budja kurlang. From the beginning of time to the end, this is Noongar country. Noongar people have been graceful keepers of our nation for many, many years. Ngala jerpa mama buja ngalak bala mama kwap. Ngala kur jerpa nija ngala maya nyining Noongar Budja. We respect the earth, our mother, and understand that we belong to her. She does not belong to us. In all her beauty, we find comfort, well-being, and life that creates a home for everyone that has become a keeper of Noongar country. Jiniring karigan jerpan nija wern Noongar Budja ngalamai mai burda. Look, listen, understand, and embrace all the elements of Noongar country that is forever our home. Kai wanju ngan Barry Winmar, wajak baladong maman, ngan kurt jerpan nunak nija Noongar Budja, dajali wanganing Noongar Budja. Hello and welcome. My name is Barry Winmar. I'm a wajak baladong man. My heart is happy as we are gathered on country tonight and speaking on Noongar country.
Thank you, Councillor Winmar. And I'd also like to acknowledge that we do meet here on the land of the Noongar people and pay respects to their elders past and present. Now I call upon Deputy Mayor to read the dedication.
May we, the elected members of the City of Kwinana, have the wisdom to consider all matters before us with due consideration, integrity, respect for the Council Chamber. May the decisions made be in good faith and always in the best interest of the greater Kwinana community that we serve.
Thank you. We have an apology actually from our CEO tonight. As you're aware, he's one of the many thousands in Western Australia who's suffering COVID, so we do wish Wayne a very speedy recovery, and in his place we have Mr Doug Elkin, who I'm sure will do a sterling job tonight. We have apologies from Councillor Dennis Wood, and he's also sought a leave of absence from tonight to the 6th of June, the 19th of June. Okay, thank you, and he'll no doubt put in a form in due course. Thank you, and also we wish him a speedy recovery after his recent shoulder, not a reconstruction, but a shoulder replacement. Okay, thank you. Public question.
Sorry, we will have to do the motion.
We will? Yep. Okay, all right. Thank you. In view of that, would somebody like to move that the notice of motion, that the leave of absence for Councillor Wood be approved? Moved Councillor Winmar, seconded to Councillor Rouse. Anybody wish to speak against? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? So carried. Public question time. Anybody have a public question to ask? I know you've got your submission coming up. That's all right. Thank you. We have nothing on item 6, 6.2. 6.3, we have a deputation from Bryce and Kylie Munro, owners of lot 28 Mortimer Road, in relation to agenda item 17.1. Would you like to come forward to the podium and just state your name, address, and please feel free to make your deputation. Thank you.
Hello. So my name's Kylie Munro and my husband Bryce Munro here. We're the owners of lot 28, 110 to 114 Mortimer Road in Wellard. And I'd like to say thanks to Mayor Carol Adams for accepting our deputation tonight. Basically, we have put a submission into planning for an outbuilding or a large shed on our property. We've got a lot of clauses on our property, so and we've been there since 2009. Given that there's 2 residents on the property, when we only have one substantial outbuilding, and we'd like to have another substantial outbuilding for our residents for all our private vehicles and boats, caravans and things like that, as they are all out in the element at the moment. We have quickly read the agenda previously, and we acknowledge that the back of the property is category wetlands, and we're unable to change that status locally. We understand that, and we are happy to keep it category wetlands, given we see all the native fauna and things there, and we enjoy walking at the back there. So our proposal is to put the shed at the front of the block where we have been utilising the land already for personal use, and we simply wish to construct the secondary shed to, as I said, enclose the personal assets. The other primary shed encloses the back residents' personal assets. We're happy to collect stormwater runoff. We currently are not collecting stormwater runoff, so that will benefit us when we set up the new shed. The new shed will not be unsightly to the public, as the vegetation at the front of the block already obscures the existing shed. And the new shed will replace an older and outdated smaller shed, which would be demolished on building of the new shed. It will not interrupt vegetation, as we can see when we get further down track. We've submitted just a map showing where the outbuilding will be. It will be covering land that is already holding property equipment, or just already in use. We're using that land already, just with our equipment, etc. And that's about it. So we're agreeing with the submission made, and we're hoping that it all gets passed tonight. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 7.1, confirmation of the minutes held on our ordinary council meeting of the 27th of April. Would somebody like to move the recommendation? Moved Councillor Estwood, seconded Councillor Winmar. Either councillors wish to speak on those minutes? Anybody wish to speak against? Shall put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? So carried. Item 8, declarations of interest.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to declare conflict of interest and partiality to item 14.2, the recognition of services for conducting a Welcome to Country.
Thank you. We intend to remain in the room.
There's a vote on that, Your Worship. I shall leave the room for that vote to be conducted.
Thank you. Thank you. Item 9, request for leave of absence. Neil, there's nothing on item 10, 11, 12 or 13. Item 14.1 is the naming of a portion of the Harry McGuigan Park. Are there any questions, councillors? If not, we have a recommendation. Would somebody like to move? Councillor Winmar, seconded Councillor Rouse. Councillor Winmar, would you like to speak on that item?
Yes, thank you, Worship. Very familiar with that area of that section of Harry McGuigan Park. Just a bit of history. I've got one of the first connections to Aboriginal people, Noongar people, in the city of Kwinana, using that place as a meeting place. And I understand that this has been an ongoing request, and I'm thankful that the Ngala Yorga Wangan group have undertaken that under the wing to progress that to council on behalf of the community. And I'd like to impress upon my fellow councillors to vote in favour, as that's still just been a gathering area that commemorates the original gathering place and meeting of Noongar people in the area since as long as I can remember being in Kwinana. Thank you, Your Worship.
Could you just advise of the correct pronunciation of the wording?
So the name of that particular portion is Ngalang Mort Manja, which means the meeting place of the families, which were all first families of Noongar families in the area at the time. Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Rouse. Anybody wish to speak against? I shall put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? So carried. Item 14.2, recognition of service, Welcome to Country. Councillor Barry Winmar has declared an impartiality interest. Does anybody wish him to leave the room? That's fine. Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? If not, we have a recommendation. Move Councillor Rouse,
seconded at Councillor Kearney. Councillor Rouse, would you like to speak on the item?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I support the motion as I believe the Welcome to Country is an important Aboriginal protocol that all organisations should be willing to pay for, as they understand the significance of the ceremony and wish to pay respects to the traditional custodians of the land where the meeting and event is taking place. A Welcome to Country can allow non-Aboriginal people to learn more about the way the Aboriginal people feel about the land and their relationship to the land, which is very spiritual and sacred connection. Excuse me. The more these ceremonies are conducted, the more people will realise that it is important and meaningful to reconciliation and is an acknowledgement of and shows respect to Aboriginal culture. They are not at all tokenistic. Aboriginal history and culture were once denied existence, and this is one way to restore and maintain cultural practices. Councillor Winmar is known and respected in the community and holds wisdom and knowledge which he is responsible for sharing. In providing cultural services such as Welcome to Country, artistic performances, smoking ceremonies and other social ceremonies, it is important to acknowledge that Councillor Winmar is using his intellectual property. For this reason, it is appropriate that the payment is received for his services, and I acknowledge Councillor Winmar's generosity to forego the offer of personal financial gain and instead donate the funds to the Smith family. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Kearney?
No, thank you. I think Matthew said everything that's needed to be said. And thank you, Barry, for donating it. That's fantastic.
Anybody wish to speak against? I shall put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? So carried. And in doing so, I would also, just on behalf of the City of Kwinana, like to acknowledge the valuable contribution that Councillor Winmar provides, not just around the council chamber, but when he does present the Welcome to Country to various civil events that we attend. And I think it's just wonderful to have somebody of First Nations to be able to present in a truly traditional way, and it's certainly valued by the City of Kwinana. Thank you. Item 15, there is nothing. Item 16, 16.1 is the adoption of the draft City of Kwinana Public Art Master Plan. Are there any questions on this item? If not, we have a recommendation. I'm happy to move that as a member of the PARP, and second, Councillor Winmar. Thank you. Happy to speak on this item, obviously, as the mover. I'd just like to acknowledge all the hard work that the City of Kwinana officers and our consultant have put in to arriving at our draft art master plan and our revised draft. It certainly has been a very complex, as you can see from the documents, complicated journey, but really it's setting something right in the sense that it's great now to have a master plan as we go forward with developers who are required to make a 1% contribution to public art, which is a state government initiative, and now that we do have a master plan in place, we do have some direction that we can guide them with. I think it's a fair and equitable process, and I do note that this is really just going out for public consultation, so we'll come back to Council again to revisit after the public comments, but I would just like to thank the officers for their time and the effort in getting us to this point. Thank you. Councillor Winmar?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Giving the opportunity to speak on this this item. In light of the development and the progression that the industry has committed to the area of the City of Kwinana and the local residents, the comprehensive plan that has been submitted, and I support that the officers have put a lot of time and effort into it. It's very detailed, and it provides a clear pathway moving forward. There was some few grey areas previously in some of the policy. I'm pleased to see that some of those areas are now, there's a bit more clarity around it, and there's also an opportunity there to look at other opportunities for the vast array of how art is delivered and portrayed for the benefit of the community and for people who visit the City of Kwinana. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak against? If not, I shall put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? So carried. Item 17, 17.1 is a development application for an outbuilding on lot 28, 110 Mortimer Road, Wellard. Are there any questions in relation to this item? Thank you, Councillor Kearney.
Can I ask, is the building going to, is it going to be in the building envelope?
I'll ask one of the officers.
I would have to check the plans, but I assume with respect to this site, because it's a development zone and it's historic, it doesn't actually have a building envelope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a reason, or did you want to follow up?
No,
Just
no, that's all good.
thank you. We'll take that on notice then. Thank you. Any other questions? Would somebody like to move? Move Deputy Mayor. Sorry, seconded Councillor S. Wood. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak on the item? Councillor S. Wood.
No, thank you, Your Worship.
Anybody wish to speak against? I shall put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? So carried. Thank you. And you, of course, are welcome to stay or leave, whatever you like. It's a riveting council meeting tonight, but that's fine. We've got our item 18.1, our monthly financial report for March 2022, not to be missed. Pleased to go. Thank you. Are there any questions of the officers? Thank you. I do note the current closing municipal surplus is really quite strong compared to the budget position. Yeah. Thank you. Would somebody like to move, if there's no questions? Move Councillor Brown.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Seconded Councillor S. Wood. Councillor Brown, do you wish to speak on the item? Councillor Wood.
No, thank you, Your Worship.
Would anybody like to speak against the item? I shall put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? So carried. Item 18.2 are our budget variations. We have some questions. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Your Worship. I wonder if the Director could tell us what's happening in the Grove.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Fiji. So I suppose when we ran our events in there, we realised that there's a real need for some infrastructure in that area. So I think at the moment we're looking at some seating and some lighting and so forth. And Doug may be able to highlight any other further elements, but obviously the budget is $50,000 to do that project. Obviously it will be kind of budget limited, but it's about providing infrastructure in there so we can run events in there, and obviously providing power and so forth. Yep.
Secondary question, Your Worship, in relation to the item to do with the legal advice. I was wondering if the contractors have actually been consulted about this superannuation issue, Mr. Director.
So not as yet. So obviously we're getting that legal advice currently. So once we have that legal advice, then we'll consult with the in-home care educators.
Thank you. And I understand that the legal advice has been provided and being assessed.
Yeah, so we haven't got the final legal advice as
You've
yet.
got preliminary views.
Yes, preliminary
Great.
views.
Thank you.
Sorry, Your Worship, I guess the reason my question is the item is clearly in a public part of the agenda, which means that the contractors potentially, if they want to read this far into the agenda, will be aware that there are some questions around the superannuation. That's the reason why I ask whether they have been consulted.
Thank you. Any other questions? We have a mover. Somebody like to move? Councillor Winmar, seconded Councillor Rouse. Councillor Winmar, do you wish to speak? No, thank you. Councillor Rouse? No, thank you, Worship. Anybody wish to speak against? Put it to vote. All in favour? Against? So carried. There's nothing on 19, 20 or 21. Item 22 are reports of elected members. Deputy Mayor.
Nothing to report, Your Worship.
Councillor Winmar.
Yeah, nothing to report, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Rouse.
Nothing to report, Your Worship.
Oh. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just a short one for me, but last week I attended the Commercial Support Grant meeting alongside Councillor Sherry Wood and Councillor Matthew Rouse. where we worked with city staff to review the latest round of applications for grants of up to $1,000 to be used by local businesses wishing to invest in making improvements to their operations. I think it was fantastic to see a good mix of both retail and home-based businesses in this latest round, and to have another reminder that small business and entrepreneurship is thriving in our city to the benefit of local residents who are looking to make a living, those who are chasing a big idea or a dream business, those who are looking for employment, or those residents who are looking to consume a wide variety of product and services close to home. I think it's quite a privilege to be part of this council and to work with a city that prides itself in supporting residents who are looking to give small business a go, and I thank everyone involved for all the work in supporting this latest round of applications. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Estwood?
I've performed all those duties required of me, and I'm pretty sure that the kangaroo stew
Yes.
was in this fortnight.
It was.
It was very, very well attended. Quite a big crowd there, and it was very entertaining. The actors were superb, on my opinion, and it was very thought-provoking. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. For those at home that might be listening, Kangaroo Stew was a performance at the Clini Arts Centre. I can't remember the name of the company. Councillor Winmar might be able to help me out, but it was just about a full house, which is wonderful to see after, you know, the last 2 years of not being able to have a full house, and it was a very good performance. Thank you. Councillor Kearney.
I just want to bring up when recently Kwinana Heritage, every month Kwinana Heritage have their open day, and unfortunately because it's a Sunday I can't attend, so I went down on Monday, and I was just amazed at what they have there. They have so much information about solely Kwinana. It's amazing. So I'd like to encourage us all to go down and have a look. I might actually speak to them and see if we can do a morning tea or something to encourage us all to go down. The curator is doing amazing, and it's a huge job. And also, as I mentioned to the guys, their machinery, they need some storage to put in some of the storage machinery, the old machinery that is out in the weather. So I'll go back to them and have a talk to them with information and officers have given me to help them. I also wanted to mention the community information day that we had, which was actually a really nice council meeting. I went in the afternoon, and it was great. There was a lot of people there. I think it was a lot busier in the morning than it was in the afternoon. But the staff there were really, really great. The only thing that was short of was signage to say, like, the rangers didn't have a sign to say who they were. So, and also, I thought it would be really great if we could have one for councillors to go and say we're councillors, if those people wanted to come and ask us questions. I don't know if everybody else feels the same, but it would be a great opportunity for people to come and talk to us.
Thank you. That was I was just going to raise that. That was actually, I was going to be, you know, meet the mayor and bring a council along or a council officer, but it was basically thought whilst COVID was on, not to do that. But as soon as, I suppose, the state of emergency is over, when that happens, then we can certainly reinstigate that. But that was exactly what the thought was at the time.
Yeah,
Getting
really
out
good.
there and meeting the community, being at a certain place, you know, every week or, you know, once a month, whatever, just to engage better. And I was just going to say, whilst the City Assist didn't have a sign up, they were very well pointed out, and they had a line a mile long. People, yeah.
But I also wanted to mention that I went to the Mama Interpreter workshop today that Ivy Penny put on. I got invited because of the business.
Oh, right.
As a councillor. It was amazing. A lot of information. It was a really, really good workshop. And I'd like to let Ivy know what amazing job she did. It was really good.
So if we can pass that back, that'd be great.
Yeah, it was very good.
Great.
Well supported.
Thank you. There's nothing on item 23. Just a couple of Merrell announcements. The CEO, City Life, Deputy Mayor and I did go out to the Ascot Park in Bertram. You may recall or may have read on social media, there was a few concerns raised in relation to the playground that's going in there. It's only a small small playground. It's not finished, but people were getting a little bit excited about what it should or shouldn't be in there. So we went out and had a look, and as a result, there's going to be some additional bits and pieces put in there, I suppose, taking on board some of the community's concerns, and I think there is no substitute for going out and having a look in person. And I know that the staff also that following weekend had an exercise. Was it like just a meet the community if they want to come down and talk about it?
So we invited the skate consultant to come down that designed the skate park, and obviously young people were involved in that. But with young people came families and parents as well. But it was well received, and obviously lots of feedback about the park, and a great chance to talk through some of those concerns.
Great, thank you. Attended the State Council regional meeting. Whilst the City of Cockburn is not really a regional, in the sense of it's out of a metropolitan area. We've tried 3 times for 3 years to get to a regional meeting, and each time it's been cancelled because of COVID. So it was third time lucky. It was well attended by mayors, presidents from throughout Western Australia, and the southwest, because it was held in a south metropolitan zone. Each of the 6 members of the zone councils were given the opportunity to do a bit of a round-around on what's happening and issues of importance to their region. So the CEO and I did a dual performance on a joint presentation, and I've written there what the issues were covered. I'm happy to provide you with a copy of our overheads, which we spoke to. Part of that, there was a presentation from a lady called Christine Smart, who's the manager of the Office of Disabilities for the Department of Communities, and she spoke on the WA for Everyone state disabilities strategy and the importance of local government playing in this area, and the importance of consultation, and how people with disability really need to keep connected with their local community, and that's why local government plays such a critical role. And I've provided some statistics there, which I was quite staggering, the amount of people with disability in Western Australia, and the issues that people have. 1 in 3 have difficulty accessing buildings and facilities, 1 in 4 have difficulty with public transport, and 2 in 5 social housing households include a person with a disability. And I know that certainly the City of Kwinana are on the front foot with our disability and inclusion committee, and I believe Councillor Kearney is on it, and Councillor Wood. I'm not sure if you've had the opportunity. It's a really good, easy read, but a very good publication for WA for everyone. Also, there was a Mayors and Presidents Forum that I attended on the 9th of May, and the guest speaker was Elizabeth Shaw, who was a partner in PwC, and I believe she was Young Australian of the Year several years ago. Very dynamic woman, and she gave a very interactive session for the Mayors and Presidents on culture and behaviour in local government. And a few takeaways I've put there, but basically it's to do with the way mayors and presidents engage with their councils and with the executive and the staff, and always remembering that we are 2 sides of the coin. You can't damage one without damaging the other. So there's a need for mayors and presidents to build an inclusive culture and support and encourage all elected members. I certainly hope I do. If not, talk to me after the meeting. Be mindful of your leadership shadow, and that's just not for the mayors but also for your elected members. Your behaviour can have an influence on others, and this can also be drilled down to the company you may keep. And ensure there is a speak up culture fostered in our local council, and the council's audit and risk committee should have a workplace culture and behaviour as an item, which the City of Kwinana certainly does have that in as one of our risk factors as well. So it was an excellent presentation, and it was followed up by the Minister for Local Government, John Carey, who said there would be announcements shortly on the final package of reforms to go to Cabinet. Of those reforms, council standing orders will be uniform in all WA local governments. All Tier 1 and 2 councils will deliver live streaming. Of course, we're on the front foot very early. There will be a simpler system for declaring or dealing with vexatious or really toxic community members. I'm very pleased to say that this doesn't happen. We've not had that for many years at the City of Kwinana, but I believe it is an issue with many member councils. There will be no forced amalgamation, but it's anticipated some councils will merge independently as they may become unsustainable going forward. Interestingly, our strategic community plan, which you'll recall is required to be produced every 4 years, can be prepared over 8 years, but if we wish to prepare over 4 years, that's fine. And the Minister is committed to a popular elected mayor, and although he was pressed on whether this would commence in 2023, he advised there would be a transition arrangement and will be meeting with Welga in relation to this issue. So happy to answer any questions, but those are my announcements. We have agenda item 25, we have a confidential item. Move behind closed doors, Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Winmar. All in favour? Against? So closed. We shall, so moved. We shall now move behind closed doors and turn off the recording. Thank you very much. We've now resumed the meeting after our closed doors confidential item, and the item was in relation to curbside waste and recycle contract extension and scheduled variation to recycling price rates. Council has carried that one. That Council approved the 12-month contract extension for contract 618 KWN 16, Waste Management Services, Waste and Recycle Collections, Processing and Disposal. 2, validate the extended contract period expiring 30 June 2023, including the CPI increase from 1 July 2022 as per the contract. 3, authorise the CEO to execute the contract extension process. And 4, approve the variations to the schedule of fees and charges of the Waste Management Services, Waste and Recycling Collections, Processing and Disposal contract with Suez Recycling and Recovery Proprietary Limited as per Attachment 1. Thank you. So there are no further items to consider, so therefore I declare the meeting closed at 6:02, and thank you all very much for your attendance.
Oh no, let it go, it's fine. 6:02 is a good time.
Sorry, 6:07. I'm looking on my clock on my iPad.